just needed to hit record there. So I was just introducing myself, and there's the translation here in Chinese. So just to say that my background is in teaching, has been quite a number of years, both in the UK and also Poland, Beijing, that was online as well, and in the UK. So a wide range of experience and qualification levels. Okay, so here's a copy of the CELTA qualification. So we'll just have a little look at that. So that basically certifies me to teach English to speakers of other languages. And that was just stopping to let some people in here. So that was a qualification I did earlier this year that involves lots of practice in the classroom and basically learning all the different ways to teach English to speakers of other languages. So people from all over the world will come to the lessons, and it qualifies me to do a mixture of one-to-one. So I do offer one-to-one sessions as well as larger group sessions. And this is the certificate that enables that. And there's the translation. And it is certified by Cambridge as well. So it's an internationally recognized qualification. So I'm just going to give you a quick overview of what we're going to cover in the session today. So we're going to look at what are phonics. Okay, then we're going to look at why we need to study phonics. So why phonics are important. And then we'll look at different programs of teaching. And then we'll look at the textbooks that we'll use. And then there'll be a short Q&A. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat bar at the end. And there's the translation as well. I'll just give you a couple of seconds to read that. Okay, so what are phonics then? Phonics are sounds that make up words in the English language. Okay, so there are many of these sounds, and these can be shown by looking at the phonetic alphabet. So we'll look at the phonemic chart in a second. That will be on the following slide. So examples of phonics are just in the pictures below. You can see they're basically all the possible sounds in the English language. So some examples are the hen, so the N sound. You've got ink, so with link and drink and mink. You've got the ing sound with bring and spring. The age, so village, cabbage, so it's idge, that sort of sound, orange, storage, and squish with the ish sound, fish. And these are just a few examples of those sounds that you'll find. So it's basically mapped out in a chart of all the possible sounds. So I'll just put the translation up so you can have a read of that. So phonics form everything from speaking, reading, listening, and writing. Every time you engage with the English language, you're engaging with phonics. So if you learn those basic sounds, then you can basically handle the entire English language. It forms the basis of all future work that you do in English. So it's very good to learn this at an early age and to build it up over the years to incorporate in your work. So this is a phonemic chart that I just mentioned, and I'll just quickly run through some of the sounds. So they're used, a variety of symbols are used for these sounds. So you've got the monophthongs and the diphthongs. And we won't go into too many details about the differentiation there, but that just differentiates the symbols and when they are two sounds together or one sound. So we have sheep, it's a monophthong because it's just one sound, sheep, E. Then we have I, ship, good, shoot, bed, teacher, birds, there's a slight difference there, or door, ah, far, on. And they're the vowels, so the monophthong vowels. Then we have the consonant monophthongs. This is one sound using a consonant. So p for p, b, boat, t, tea, d, dog, f, fly, v, video, th, think, the, this, s, see, z, zoo, sh, shall, television, so j is a j sound, and then m, man, n, now, s, so ing sound, h sound for hat, l for love, r, red, w, wet, and y, yes. And then we have g for go and k, car. And then here where we have the double symbol, sorry, these are the diphthongs. So ear for here. And then a. So it's two sounds. That's why it's not a monophthong. Two sounds. So a, wait. Tor, tourist. Boy, or e for boy. And then o for show. Air for hair. My for my. Cow, so ow is the sound. And then j, but it sounds like a j sound. And then a ch, so t-ch, it sounds like a t-ch. So it's two sounds that make the one ch sound. But that's just a very basic overview of the phonemic chart and how we'll use phonemes and phonics in the very, very early stages. So we wouldn't ever show somebody who is 11 years old the phonemic chart. It's too advanced for them. This would be for somebody of an older age group. But first of all, we might focus on the different sounds. So we might focus on the sound ah, or the sound or the sound and which words contain those sounds. But this is just so that you understand the background behind where those sounds come from. And this table aims to map out all the possible sounds in the English language. Okay. So, and then that's the Chinese translation. So I'll just give you a couple of seconds so you can have a look at that. Okay, and now we're going to move on to why study phonics. So you might be wondering what's important about phonics. Why do we need to study phonics? And I've explained a few reasons why, but here's the written version. So it basically, as I said, it forms the basis of all the different aspects of the English language. So you have speaking, listening, reading, and writing. And knowing those basic sounds will help with understanding those elements. Being able to understand the differences between words when there's the same sound used in different contexts. Because sometimes you'll have the same sound used across multiple contexts. Okay. And the next reason is it helps to improve reading efficiency and speed. So once you know the sounds, it helps to improve the speed of the reading. And also the way that you can read is much better because your accuracy is much better. You can recognize sounds when you see them written down, but also you're able to speak them much better. Phonics also helps to pronounce words correctly and to build a good vocabulary. So if you have the sounds as the basis, then you can build a really good vocabulary using the right sounds that are used in the English language. So it's a very accurate way to learn the English language, because often when you have an international student learning English, they will try to incorporate the sounds that they have in their native language into the English language. And obviously that's a very different way of speaking, and different sounds have completely different meanings. So it just is a good guide to change the sounds in the way that you're learning a new language. And it also sort of, based on my previous point, it helps with reading and writing unknown words. So if you can hear the sound, you can practice spelling that word based on how it sounds. So although the spelling might not be right, you've still written out the sound. So phonetically, we use this word. So you would have phonetically written out how the word sounds, even if some of the letters are different. But then once you've written the word phonetically, you can then learn how to spell that word correctly. But the idea is that the first thing you write down is how the word sounds, which mixes in with speaking, and then the writing develops from the speaking. And obviously it will help with taking exams in English as well. Because then you get to, especially for listening exams as well, it will make it easier to understand the meaning behind the words when you know the sounds that each word contains. And I'll just put up the Chinese translation for a second. I'll give you a few minutes to read that. Okay, I'll move on to the next slide. So there are different ways of teaching phonics. Some people approve of different, some people think certain ways are better than others, more effective than others. So you have some programs such as embedded phonics, teach phonics by asking children to guess unfamiliar words using cues. For example, the meaning of a word gleaned from the sentence context. So this is phonics, so the sound of the words embedded in the meaning of a sentence. Okay, so if you have a story about a cat, then you can understand what the cat is doing from the context around it, as well as learning the sound ah within cat. Okay, and also unfamiliar words as well. You get to listen to the sounds and practice reading words that you're not so sure about, or the child's not so sure about as well. Other programs ask children to look at words, for example, pig, page, pen, all start with the same sound. So it might be a list of words, and taken out of context, the student would be asked to pronounce the word p, p, looking at the different sounds, and learn the letter sound rules by analyzing or making comparisons between the words. So this is called analogy or analytical phonics. So this is when you're looking at words and you're comparing them to similar words. So you're looking at the pronunciation p, or the sound p, phonic p, and then you're trying to compare it to other letters, and you're learning the words in that way. So almost it's taken out of context. And there's an article here, you can check it out here in the Conversation 2017. And this basically says in the article that these programs are not as effective as those focusing on the letter sound knowledge taught in an explicit and systematic fashion. So basically, we're going to try and focus on teaching these in the context in which they will be used. And that helps with speaking and listening, because you start to think about different scenarios or different areas of life when you would use these different sounds or different words. So it helps to put things in context, basically. And you focus on the knowledge as well as the sound. So it's kind of this combined learning, and that's really important. Okay, and I'll just put the Chinese translation up here. For you to see. So it's just basically, it's just looking at different programs and different ways that you can teach phonics. And we'll be using a variety of methods. So it will be a mixture of textbook work, which we'll look at, as well as